The question, what do you want to do when you grow up, always struck me. When I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to become. I had no idea how to decide for one specific job. I was 18 years old, and how could I make a decision impacting my complete life when my other decisions in that age were based around which basketball game to watch or what to do with friends this weekend? I kind of knew that I loved trying out different things and following many hobbies simultaneously. So narrowing down in the future kind of made me feel like I would lock myself in a prison. It felt as if I had to shut down the beauty that other jobs, career paths, and ways of living life might have to offer. And the way people talked to kids and educated them, it seemed as if doing many different things at the same time wasn't a career option and rather an indecisive thing to do. Every class at school, every career orientation event you would go to, every talk with a professional aimed at finding the one single thing that would become one's job. No, you need to decide. You have to pick a job at some point, and this does have an impact on kids. It narrows their perspective, and so did it narrow mine. At some point, kids can't imagine there are other paths out there besides specialization, and it's kind of understandable from a teacher's perspective and not easy to change this system. The majority of society is specialized, and teachers and employees at career orientation events are specialized themselves. It's very unlikely they will or can teach you how to go abroad. And it's also difficult to navigate and educate someone on the confusion and uncertainty when going abroad. While it's much easier to tell someone how to become a doctor, hey, follow the process of A, B, C, and D, and if you do it well, you will get there. So, figuring out how to not specialize and build a career on breadth might lie within your own responsibility to a large extent, which back then was difficult for my young self. You need a lot of self-confidence for swimming against the stream of what everyone is doing, and self-confidence to some extent comes through age and experience. And at that point in time, I had accumulated neither age nor a lot of experience. It was solely the thought of having to specialize that crushed me. So I began studying at university and made a number of discoveries over the upcoming years through my 20s. I noticed that there are people out there living life exactly the way I wanted to live. They spent their day being a scuba diving instructor, being an artist, and running an agency, all in one. They spent their day being a musician, a physiotherapist, and teaching history, all in one. Every time I discovered one of these people, online or offline, it gave me a feeling of happiness because they were doing what I always thought is not out there and not possible. It gave me a feeling of hope to live life exactly the way I wanted to, doing many different things. I think there are two questions that can come to your mind. If you found those people, were they just overworked people who juggled many jobs? I can tell you, no, they were not. They did scuba diving instruction for 3 hours, agency work for 4 hours, and art for 2 hours. They had optimized their work days. And were they rich, and that's why they could live life like this? No, they were not. Their combination of jobs paid good money, that's for sure. But they were not rich initially. They began this way of living life without being rich. I noticed some aspects, though, that I feel allowed these people to live life the way they did. First, they looked at life differently than 99% of society does. Because the majority of society can't even comprehend that it's possible to live a life based on a colorful mix of different passions rather than a single job without being rich. And if this option isn't even in your field of vision, there's no way you'll just stumble into it and live it. Second, you cannot be bad at what you're doing. It's not easy and it's not simple. It's much more difficult to do many things. If you're a physiotherapist, your first level of passion and second cross-learning effects from other things you've done in life have to outperform learning curves of specialists. Otherwise, people will just choose someone else's service, not yours, and then you don't earn money. So you must become good at the skill of learning itself and or develop skills that overlap between professions, for example, communication, decision making. If you're generally bad at what you're doing, good luck living life like this. Now, if you're under 30 years old hearing this, don't worry. You don't have to excel at anything now, and you have time. But aim at 1, reshifting your perspective on life. 2nd, building a solid set of skills that overlap between professions. And then 3rd, become good enough to get paid at one thing and then begin stacking professions. If you're like me back then, and you have this burning desire to live a broad and varied life, it is worth the grind, because you won't become happy taking the easier route of specializing anyways.